Hi, everybody. David Giesel here, Patriots Lament, weekly wrap up, Friday, April 10th, 2020. Continuing to feel like April 1st. Got Josh Bennett, Corey Upton here. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Good morning. Guess it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, it is for somebody. We're going to do a quickie with 3 quick topics. We're going to do our normal market close update for the week. Markets weren't open, but crypto's always open, so we're going to talk about that. Then we are going to briefly talk about how things are not going to be the same on the other side. That'll be topic 2. And then topic 3, we're going to talk about some of the opportunities, non-obvious opportunities that are going to come out of this, just real quick. And then we'll wrap up and let you guys know about the show Saturday, the regular show, and the show on Monday. So that is what we'll be going through. Starting off, we'll do our normal market wrap up. I have all the good stuff here. This would be through Thursday because markets were not open today. Dow was up 1.2%. It's at 23,719. It kind of it's up like 15% from its low now. It's up like 15%. Nasdaq was 81.53, up about 1.5%. S&P 27.89, up about 1.5%. Dollar index is still right around 100. It's at 99.46. So it's not really going anywhere. It's just staying solid. And then crude was down $1.90, back down to 23.19. So who knows how long that can stay low. And then, we've talked about that, but then we got gold, silver, platinum, palladium, rhodium. Gold at 1685, up $40. Silver at 1545, up 50 cents. So those are big moves for gold and silver.
That's really big for silver, especially, I thought.
Yeah, basically every cent on silver is about $1 on gold because they're different by a factor of about 100. So that's like gold going up $50 in a day. That's a pretty big day. Platinum at $750, up $19, still super cheap, less than half the price of gold. It's crazy. And palladium, right in there around $2,100, down $14. So not far down from its peak. Its peak was about 2,600, and it fell all the way to 1,500. So it's right in between there. Rhodium always has a big bid-ask spread. It's 4,000 bid, 7,000 ask. It's about a factor of it's about half what it was. So those industrial platinum group metals are down, but not super far down. And then on the crypto side of things, crypto did trade today. Crypto is down on the day, but way up on the week. The market cap for crypto is 192 billion now, and it was as low as 150 billion just like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So it's up like 33% over the last couple weeks, down maybe 10% on the week. But let's see, Bitcoin is about 6,900, down 5%. Ether's 158.50. Some of the other ones, well, I'll go through my favorites because they're my favorites. Monero is down 7.3% to 54. Still up a lot over where it was. And yeah, that's probably good on that. But yeah, so crypto's like down a little bit, but it's actually doing pretty well.
Yep.
You want to give us the COVID numbers?
Yeah, we got a couple numbers. Our global cases are 1,685,600. Deaths, 102,000. In the U.S., 493,500 cases and 18,000 deaths.
So that's moving up like 2,000 a day right now.
Our latest edition was 1,640 deaths in the last day. Oh, right. Sorry, that's 2 day.
Yep, right. Interesting. Cool. Well, that's our market and COVID wrap up. We will continue this Monday. We'll go through our next next market wrap up. Now on to topic 2. This is something that we talked about the last couple days, which is that it will not be the same on the other side of this. A lot of folks are waiting for things to get back to normal, as if there's going to be like a Monday. Trump was talking about after Easter, we're going to get back to work. Even if something like that were to happen, it's not the get back to work that we have in mind when we think of how things were in January or in 2019. There's no going back to normal with all these new programs and all this new authority in place. And we're seeing different versions of that. We're seeing very bizarre enforcement of controls of movement of people, people's jobs being deemed necessary and unnecessary. What are some other ones that come to mind for you guys? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on up at the North Slope, like
Closing churches.
Yep.
I think that's to me, that's the biggest one, is the closing churches, literally, and arresting or charging different ministers that have held services anyway. That's pretty huge in America. China, you kind of expect it, but not here.
Day-to-day stuff. Yesterday I was out with my dad. We got some groceries and stuff, working on some house projects. So we had done an online order at Home Depot and went to do the pickup. And they have all these extra lanes in the parking lot, and you go in and they wheel your order out. And then we went to just a little paint shop, and they have a number on the door. So you call from the parking lot, place your order with credit card, and then they put it on the sidewalk. And it's just, we were both commenting on how quickly all of these interactions that we have and don't think about on a day-to-day basis have changed radically.
Do you guys suppose, like, one of the things that's kind of a truism about being human is bad habits are easy to make, but good habits are really hard to make. And it's hard to, if you want to engage your neighbors, you have to make like a concentrated effort to do that. But if you want to be holed up in your home, it's a lot easier. And so what do you guys think about this being drawn out just long enough to break all of the habits that make a community cohesive? Because it seems like a game. There's a game to some extent about how long this should be done and what the rules are. The rules are not consistent if you wanted to control the spread of disease. It almost seems like controlling the cohesiveness of community. How long do you think that has to go on before community habits break and have to be reformed, which will take a long time?
I think to a large degree it's already happened. People don't trust their neighbors anymore.
Yep.
On an individual basis.
And this, probably even before this happened, but even more so now. I mean, people aren't. I was reading a thing. I forget. There was a lot of respondents. I think it was around 10,000 something. And it was a sports thing. They were asking, would you go back to a football, baseball game, anything, as a fan, would you? And 90% said no way. Even if the government says it's okay. So, it's never going to, I don't think it's ever going to be the same. Mm-hmm. Because people don't trust going to their friends. They don't trust I know people that are scared to death right now. And I don't share the same fear, but I don't get upset at them for being scared, because usually the ones that have reason, health reasons why they're extra cautious or whatever. But then there's people that are just plain freaked out no matter what, and they're not going to just go back to work. They're not going to just go back to having birthday parties and sleepovers and movies. That's how long that could take years. Mm-hmm. If it even happens. Because the government's not really giving us a whole lot of clue that it's going to happen. And will that actually scare people more? Because they're so in tune to everything the government says, right? Listen to the government. Whatever they say, that's the religion. That's the truth. And let's say that Monday was the day that we all went back to work, whatever, that Trump opened the economy back up and no one did. How much more would that freak people out that, oh my gosh, it didn't go back to normal? What are we missing here?
Why not?
It'd be kind of a self-fulfilling, but I think it'll freak people out even more.
Yeah, for sure. So things that's just like a brief synopsis. We talked about some of this stuff on Wednesday. Do not expect things to go back to normal. Bob Wenzel, who was on with us last week, had some differing opinions on that. I think it'd be cool to have him on again in a week or two, and get his updated take on that. But yeah, basic conclusion of that is things not going back.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just going to say monetarily, it surely won't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what programs are going to end when this ends? Or will it? Because if this never ends, will the programs end? And especially the power that they've given themselves. Will they ever give that up? They didn't give anything up after 9/11, 20 years later.
Yep.
So I had an idea yesterday that I wanted to float with you and maybe work through it. But there's this issue where the states are deciding on a state by state basis how much they close down and when they reopen. But states don't have the ability to create currency. So that gives the Fed a lot of power. And because the money for all these programs is coming from the Fed, there's very little incentive for the states to let up on any of this. So the shutdown is a state by state basis, but the release is through this monetary mechanism is more of a federal thing.
It's it's like one of those games where the bigger victim you are, the better you do. Like it's like social welfare. There are people who really actually do need assistance, and I'm not saying they should get it from the government, but there are people for whom that makes a big difference. But then there are other people who actually structure their lives to take advantage of as much as possible, and the states appear to be. It remains to be seen, of course, but the states appear to be doing that. Where the worse you can make your situation look, the more dollars will float in from the Fed. Yeah, and that's not going to go back. And the people in those states are not. Everybody thinks it's an advantage. It's a disadvantage because doing stuff like that makes you weak. If it's not absolutely necessary, if for every ounce of assistance you get that's not absolutely necessary makes you weaker than you would be otherwise. So if Alaska gets a pile of money dumped on it, it doesn't do anything to solve the structural problems in the state, which are rampant now.
And I think I was telling you guys, I watched a thing where Alaskan politicians were talking about how yesterday Trump declared Alaska a disaster area, and which kicks in mutual federal dollars on top of the $1 billion that they're already getting from the relief package. And all those politicians they were smiling ear to ear. I mean, it was like, oh boy, we're going to get billions. They're already using, they want to set aside $35 million to build a road to a mine. It's a it's a $500 million job.
Is that the one at the
they want to take some of these funds to use for that. They want to, they're going to use it for whatever social programs they were planning on doing. Anyways, has nothing to do with this disease, but they're going to do it anyway.
It's opportunism.
Yeah.
Well, let's use that. Let's pivot on that. So our last topic is a short update show. Our last topic is topic 2. Things won't be the same. For sure, we could go on and on. Topic 3 is on the opportunities that are going to emerge from this. There's going to be a ton of opportunities, even if things get super socialist and weird. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for a couple of reasons. Like one, like you just pointed out, Josh, there's all this money floating around. The state's going to spend it somewhere, and that doesn't mean that you should structure your life to receive it in a deceptive way or anything. But let's say you have a mine or something, and the state's gonna pave a road or run power out to your mine. Like, boom, you're in business. Um, and so there will be people who are positioned to take advantage of that. One of the things we talked about was we were talking about all this debt forgiveness that looks like it's happening. On the one hand, that's insane because it's super inflationary. But on the other hand, uh, with large portions of the economy not saddled with debt, um, people might be able to go and do different things with their lives than they were before, especially all these new college grads with basket weaving degrees. They got a major that's useless, and then they're trying to hunt for a high wage job so they can actually pay off their loan. If their loan was forgiven, maybe some of them would be able to go and just get a regular job, because there's a shortage. It's hard to find people who will just do regular work these days.
Mm-hmm.
What are some actually? So there was a guy at Costco. I'm going to tell a little story. I was at Costco the other day, and the guy who was like coordinating which line you go to and keeping your 6 feet. He was there. Got talking to him, and just asking him how stuff's going. He's like, dude, it's awesome. Stuff's going great. Before this whole thing went down, I had a really crappy job that I hated, and it was like some retail job or something, and it shut down. And Costco was hiring, and so he got a job at Costco. Pays better, hours are better, everything about it's better. So he said, yeah, when this is over, there's no way I'm going back to my old job. And so this guy, he wasn't sitting around like waiting for something to change. He was like, I need a job. I'm going to go find one. I'm going to go look for the opportunity. And now he's found a higher paying job that Costco has been deemed critical. They're not getting shut down. And when it's over, he's going to be better off than he was before. Do you guys see any other, are there any, there's a lot of stuff that's not going to be good. Are there any other things that you guys see that are going to be opportunities or look like they might be opportunities on the other side?
Well, I think that after this, I think their priorities might shift, and the whole thing about, okay, so there's the reports from cities where they're like, wow, we forgot we had mountains over there because we couldn't see them for the last 30 years or whatever. And or for the people who are able to make the jump to working from home and set up an office and kind of mentally section that part of the house off from the rest of your life, there's this kind of similarity where the demand for virtual stuff goes up as social distancing increases. So if you need a platform to place orders for goods or something like that, the chances are a lot of that can be done, a lot of the setup for that work can be done remotely as well. Mm-hmm. So there may be kind of a whole push towards a more, on the downside, less community-oriented society. But in terms of the jobs, there's probably going to be a lot of work that's needed to make that happen. And we've seen that already with like companies like Zoom, who got totally overwhelmed. Like they were not ready for this a whole bunch of problems came up for them. And it's like, well, on the one hand, that sucks and they need to fix it, but it also means that there's a lot of work to be done. So.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that jumps out at you, Josh? Opportunities from the chaos?
I was kind of thinking about it a little differently. Well, I thought, there's the economic opportunities and stuff like that. But I was thinking about the I don't even know if I'm on. So I was thinking maybe we'll have a new Solzhenitsyn book come out when the state gets really tyrannical. Maybe Ron Paul will put out another blockbuster book to share with people what the difference between freedom and government tyranny is. Maybe it's an opportunity to show people there's a better way than this. Not so much of like, see, I told you so. It's coming, rawr, because I couldn't have told anyone this was going to happen ever. None of us could. But be an opportunity to show people a different way of living. I mean, they've already been kind of coaxed into a different way of living like this. Parents are homeschooling now and stuff like that they would have never done before. So maybe it's just an opportunity to share about freedom and who you put your trust in, stuff like that. There are better things than what we've been doing for the last 200 years.
That's the truth. In the last 50, 60, 70 years specifically, in particular.
Yeah.
Something Corey and I have been talking about is taking things on the road. So when I moved to Canada, the plan was to pick up a passport and then go to the next destination and continue to accumulate passports because of this type of scenario. And I got my passport a couple months ago, 3-4 months ago. And my company is now structured in a way where this shutdown actually hasn't been a big deal for it. And Corey and I were talking about ways that we could continue to be productive while being in totally different parts of the world. So not the whole, I'm going to go on vacation forever, but I'm going to just make some minor adjustments to my lifestyle where I don't have to be anywhere, which is really a way that humans lived for most of humanity. Like the whole being in a city for your whole life thing is kind of a new gig.
Mm-hmm.
Even around here in Canada, it's kind of funny. There's all these where I'm at, there's all these little towns. And this area is pretty far east, right? So it's people who came and then made their way west. And there's all these cute little towns. Plattsville is one of them. And it was named after William Platt or something like that. And the types of people who live there now are generally I want to move to a small town and be there forever. But you read the big plaque about him in downtown, and it's so-and-so Platt was responsible for starting 25 towns in southern Ontario because he landed here on his boat, and then he went here and he built a mill, and then he got bored, so he went here and he built, whatever, did a farm thing, and then here he built a textile factory, and then here, and then he ended up all the way down here. That was the last town he started when he was 80, and then he died. And so there's a long history of that, and it's been forgotten. But that possibility is going to open up again, and especially the weirder things get, the more that'll start to emerge again. So that's another opportunity. There's a ton of them.
Yeah, maybe just as an anecdote, we can talk about what we were doing yesterday, David, where I'm in Fairbanks and I have my computer and I'm doing design work on a project that David has. And we've worked together in person before, so I think that makes it easier. But we'd have a Skype call for a few minutes every hour, or we'd talk for 45 minutes and then just leave the Skype open while we're both working, and then assign some tasks and go work on stuff independently, and then check back in an hour or so. And that, I wouldn't say that works for all things and all phases of a project, but a lot of it can be done. That way, and it does take practice because it's not real intuitive, especially when you're working on more complex things. But it's definitely doable. So.
Mm-hmm. It's a skill.
Yeah.
Yep, and it works better for some than others. With trucking, something I was thinking about, Josh, was that larger. So owner operators right now, they can still work on their rigs if they have a shop. Even if their work stops, they can pull their rig in the shop and get it dialed up, get it dialed in, and be ready for when work starts again. But if you work for one of the big haulers, and they've been deemed, non-critical or whatever, you go home and you got nothing to work on. And the maintenance crew that's supposed to work on those trucks, they're not in there working on them either. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a weird thing where this whole shutdown favors really, really, really big companies who are basically just part of the state. Um, but it's like those couple hundred to a couple thousand people companies that really suffer the most. And but the little ones, the smaller ones, there's things you can do. You can ebb and flow. And I wonder if that doesn't end up, it's not good when a company gets squashed by regulation, but more of these smaller operations might not be a bad thing in the long term. There's opportunities that are going to open up there where obviously a lot of these medium-sized businesses are not going to make it. But there's going to be little opportunities for small ones to emerge that can deal with stuff like this more often, because this is likely to happen more often in the future.
And it may create an environment where the government's forced to deregulate, because if they lose so much of certain sectors, they don't have to, but it would be in their best interest to deregulate to allow smaller industries, smaller companies to be able to prosper by shedding some of the regulation and the costs that's associated with it. That could happen. I mean, we're already seeing, in the medical community where they're fast tracking this and that, getting rid of these different regulations, and not just in the medical community either. And it makes, we've seen it a lot in different comment sections of, why did we have these? Mm-hmm. If we're okay in a pandemic not to have them when it's, emergency time, why did we need them in the first place? Because why do you need regulations outside of emergencies? So that could be something that's beneficial down the line. And then I was thinking too, the one of the benefits that maybe we'll talk about is maybe it's not a benefit, but starting to learn to be a little bit more proactive instead of reactive. The major doom and gloomers are all, I do it. What's the government going to do next? What's the next move? What are they going to do next? Instead of, and just preparing to react to whatever's hits them, instead of being proactive and moving ahead and say, I don't care what the state does. I see an opportunity here, or I see a need I need to do here. And
there is he may or may not come back. That's the proactive versus reactive thing is a super good point. There's a talk, we're approaching our wrap up time anyway. There's a talk I watched yesterday, putting it in the YouTube right now, in the comments. Bruce Lipton, and he's kind of the guy who first characterized epigenetics, and he's talking about.
Was that on London Real?
It's on London Real.
Okay, I watched that this morning. So.
Rad, yeah, it's a fun talk. And one of his points is that you're either your cells are either in a defensive mode where they're trying to fight off things that are coming in, or they're in a growth mode where they're accepting nutrients and growing. And an organism is the same way. And so, like Josh was saying, you're either, if you're sitting there waiting to hear what the next regulation is, you're in a defensive position, and that means you're excluding growth. But if you're looking for opportunities, then you're growing through this, and you're going to be stronger, and you're going to need to be stronger on the other side of this. Things aren't going to be easier on the other side. So if you're getting weaker right now, it's not a good place to be. But yeah, I'd recommend that talk. There's one other talk that I would recommend people watch, starring Mr. Corey Upton. We have a 5G COVID-19 discussion on my company 9CI's YouTube channel. I just put that in the chat. Recommend people go watch both of those. Check them out. And then
I have not watched the second one, so feedback is appreciated. So.
Yeah. Leave a comment or call us tomorrow. We got the show. Our regular Saturday show, 9 a.m. Alaska time, 9 to noon. We'll have the call-in number going, so you'll be able to call in. We'll have a few topics from the week, some new stuff. We're getting better structure going for that. So 9 o'clock tomorrow, Alaska time. Jump in. You guys can leave comments. or call in with comments on any of the stuff we've talked about this week and on these videos. And then we have on Monday, we have Becky Akers joining us for our Monday market wrap up. Yeah, so check those out, and we will catch you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Alaska time.
See you then.
See you guys.